I've now spent 250 days in Stardew Valley trying to reach 100% completion, known in the game as perfection. At this point, individual video goals don't make as much sense, as everything takes so much longer to complete in late game. For that reason, we don't have any specific goals this time around, we're just working to further our progress towards that sweet 100%. If this is the first video of the series you've seen, the full playlist is linked in the description, so you can catch up on the first 200 days. But this intro's already gone on long enough, so on to the video. I started putting the work in immediately on day 201, commissioning a second shed from Robin before buying a few rabbits for the second coop. Our plans for friendship hinge on rabbit's feet, so we need to fill this coop eventually. The wizard was also looking for some iridium today, so I made a trip to his tower before finishing out the day. Day 202 was focused on metals, smelting down gold and buying loads of ore from Clint. I also took the time to clear this large area by Grandpa's grave and came across an ominous note about him returning in year 3. It's Starfruit Day on day 203. I bought more seeds and replanted the whole farm. Again. This is starting to become rather tedious. Other than that, all I did was gift Caroline for her birthday, so really not much to talk about. The wine is ready to collect day 204, and it's worth over 300,000 gold altogether. At this rate, it would only take nearly 250 days just to make the money for the gold clock? Seriously, who in their right mind pays that much for a clock? Anyway, I went to the Festival of Ice and set up a lot of new furnaces in the shed. Day 205 was an attempt to get some iridium ore. Unfortunately, even going in with plenty of bombs and spicy eel, I only made it to floor 57 and left with just over 30 iridium ore. Really, my time would have been better spent doing anything else. Day 206 was Sebastian's birthday, so after smelting the new iridium, I went and gave him a gift. I also got a large haul of jade from the crystallariums. Finally, we're getting a good amount to spend on staircases. It's a good day on day 207. The ancient fruit farm is really starting to accelerate. We've got 16 new seeds added this time around. A few more weeks of growth and we'll have a full farm. Before heading home, I accepted the 4 precious stones quest. I'm not sure if I'll be able to pull it off, but the key gem reward makes it more than worth the try. I made another skull cavern run on day 208, and this one went a lot better than the first. I made it all the way to floor 93 and managed over 100 iridium ore. Even better though was that we found an auto petter in a treasure room along the way. This is actually the first time I've ever come across this thing myself, and it couldn't have come at a better time. We need to keep all our rabbits happy to continue rabbit's foot production. Unfortunately, the device does not increase friendship with your animals, but it'll keep them happy if you don't pet them yourself. Day 209 was prep day. I bought lots of coffee for more espresso, put up more crystallariums for Ruby, and stocked up on bombs. Tomorrow we take on Skull Cavern in an attempt to find 4 prismatic shards. But first, apparently it's Harvey's birthday today. Usually I wouldn't mind, but I've got places to be. Thankfully, we can bring him a gift while Pam makes her way to the bus, so we don't waste any potential time in the caverns. The reason we chose today, by the way, is that we can trade all our jade for staircases before going down. I staircased straight down to floor 100 as soon as I entered the cavern, because the floors below 100 contain much more iridium ore. I only made it to floor 139 over the rest of the day, but there was so much iridium ore that it didn't really matter. I collected several hundred ore and no less than 7 prismatic shards. This is the only way I'll take on the Skull Cavern from now on. That was wildly successful. On day 211, after another insanely profitable wine collection, I proudly took all my prismatic shards to Key, completing the quest. I also took a trip over to Clint's to buy loads of iron and copper. At this point, we're only limited by the number of kegs we have, so more is always better. Day 212 was a simple one. I spent most of my time chopping loads of trees for wood. I finally found the capsule from the UFO event so many days ago, but I don't think it really does anything. By the end of the day, I had nearly 50 more kegs than the shed can hold. I'm gonna need to expand. On day 213, I smelted down a lot of the iridium I picked up from Skull Cavern. I also took the wizard a birthday present and commissioned a new shed before waiting on the night market. A few of the fish I need to complete the fishing collection come from deep sea fishing, something that can only be done a few days out of the year. I went down with a cork bobber because deep sea fish are notoriously difficult to catch, and by the end of the night I had several new fish, including the blobfish, my personal favorite. All I did day 214 was expand the ancient fruit farm, but day 215 was a little more exciting. We have a second shed for more kegs now. I fit what I could, but we still have more kegs than will fit. I immediately asked Robin for a shed upgrade. I also took a trip to the desert for a final round of starfruit seeds. That's right, after this last round we're finally switching entirely over to ancient fruit. Speaking of the starfruit, it's ready for harvest. You know the drill by now. This takes all day and gives us plenty of new starfruit for wine. The only other thing that happened today was Evelyn's birthday, so you know we had to make a trip out to give her a gift. The large shed was ready just in time day 217, because the wine is ready for collection. I took the time to reorganize the rest of our kegs in the second shed and filled every single one with starfruit. I can't wait to see how much money I make from this. Day 218 is a bit of a departure from our regular routine. I went back to golden walnut collecting. There were a few quite easy walnuts I just happened to miss while going through the island initially. And with these walnuts in hand, I was finally able to unlock the warp obelisk back to the farm. I can't begin to tell you how convenient this is. Now all I need is a warp obelisk to the island, and I'll be able to go back and forth in a matter of seconds. And now we get to possibly the worst experience I've ever had in this game. Let's go in order. I started off taking on Key's kindness, although spoiler alert, I never even tried at this challenge. But the real issue today is Leia. See, it was her birthday today, and so after gifting her, I got thrown into a couple of hard events. Nothing bad, I actually quite like her hard events. No, the issue is an incredibly annoying bug, where entering your farm from the bottom, you know, right where Leia's cabin is, just before starting her 6 hard event, you'll get stuck in the ground here. I tried everything, there's no escape. After hours of trying different things, I just exhausted myself until I passed out. I have no idea how this bug made it past beta testing, but at this point I seriously stepped away from the game for a bit. I was properly upset. I didn't lose anything, it was just incredibly annoying to get randomly locked in place with no escape but to pass out and lose out on the rest of my day. Moving on, day 220 was nothing more than caring for the farm. I think I was still upset about the Leia situation. So on day 221, I attended the Feast of the Winter Star. I was assigned to get Lewis a gift, and if it wasn't obvious at this point already, he got a rabbit's foot from me. Shane gave me a muffin, and I think I'll eventually put together a collection of the gifts I've gotten from this event. Day 222, I was in a bit of a sticky situation. All ancient fruit growth happens on multiples of 7. They produce fruit every 7 days, and grow over the course of either 28 days or 21 days with deluxe speed grow. It's rather convenient for making sure all the ancient fruit produce on the same day, even though I'm expanding the farm over time. The problem with this is that technically the ancient fruit was ready yesterday, but I couldn't get to the island because of the festival. So now, all the ancient fruit that I plant today are going to be offset from the rest of the farm by 1 day. Thankfully, I think we can just wait an extra day before doing next week's expansion, and it should all mostly sync up again. It's a bit of a pain, but over time I'm going to try to get them all in sync again. We're going to move on straight to day 224. Day 223 was rather uneventful. Today is a great day though, our wine is ready. We have so many more kegs now than we did last time, and the profits didn't disappoint. In total, we have 177 bottles of wine worth over $550,000. Better than that though, we finally have enough money to get the island obelisk. It's gonna wipe out our entire bank account, but being able to get to the island farm in just a few seconds is worth way more than the million gold I spent on it. Year 2 has come to a close, and as promised, Grandpa visited the farm on day 225. I don't know if this cutscene is broken, but there's no one here. Yeah, Grandpa's talking, but we're just staring into the void. Maybe that's just how the cutscene is? I don't know. What I do know is that all the candles are lit at Grandpa's gravestone, which means very good things in the near future. Can't focus on that right now though, I have a goal this year. I found a full list of every single ingredient you need to cook every recipe in the game, and this year it's gonna happen. At the very least, we'll gather all the ingredients this year. Getting every recipe is kinda tough. I spent the day at Pierre's gathering the seeds I needed to grow some cooking ingredients, as well as buying things like flour and oil outright. Thankfully, simple things like eggs and milk we already have at the farm. Day 226 is rather embarrassing, mostly because I don't fix this mistake for the entirety of this video. See, I put some crab pots down to get some of the things needed for cooking, but I've never used them before. Turns out you're meant to put bait in them, but I didn't know that. I just put them down and moved on, and never fixed it. Ever. Thankfully, I know about this now and can fix it for 300 days, but you get to go the rest of this video knowing I never caught a single thing in these crab pots. My stone fences were starting to crumble on day 227, and once again I made a bit of a mistake. I didn't know that you could repair fences. I thought you had to replace them. So I let a lot of my animals out of their pens trying to replace a bunch of fence that just needed repaired. Never do this. Learn from my mistakes. You don't need to replace all the fence. Anyway, the rest of the day went significantly better. I took on Pierre's prime produce from the bulletin board and did all the spring fishing I needed for the cooking collection in a single day. The animals are still a bit of a mess on day 228. I need to get this fixed. First, though, I need to give Kent a rabbit's foot. I wonder what the people of Pelican Town think of the millionaire farmer that only ever comes to town to give people rabbit's feet on their birthdays. Not quite sure on that one, but I guess they must like it. The hearts are going up after all. Anyway, I waited till the animals went inside to connect the fence up again before I headed to bed. Day 229 is the day. This is the official switchover. Our last harvest of starfruit. We're not planting more. From here on out, we'll only be farming ancient fruit. Honestly, I wanted to do this ages ago, but starting from a single ancient seed takes forever to ramp up production. We have enough starfruit for a couple more weeks of wine, and hopefully the ancient fruit farm is done by then. Speaking of, we also processed more ancient fruit and started planting it where the starfruit was before. In case you were wondering, yes, I'm still growing cranberries in the farmhouse, but we're at a point now where the extra 20k it gives is pretty negligible. I'm not sure what we're going to do with the greenhouse in the future, but surely I could use it for something better than this. Thankfully, the wine was done today. I've been a little low on funds since I bought the island obelisk. I refilled all the kegs, and we don't even have enough starfruit left over for another full run. We're going to go through a few rough weeks switching to ancient fruit. Thankfully, they're a lot more profitable in the long term, so it won't hurt for long. I started off day 231 gifting Lewis for his birthday. Once I hit perfection, I'm totally putting his shorts on display at the fair, but for now I need to be good friends with people. Afterwards, I bought some wood for more seed makers. It's just taking too long processing the ancient fruit every week, so hopefully this helps. I spent some time gathering some odds and ends for cooking recipes and stopped by the desert to trade for staircases. Day 232 was more of the same, preparing more cooking ingredients. I also took the time to grab the Statue of Perfection from Grandpa's grave, which provides a small amounts of iridium ore every day. It's very handy and over time can build up a good amount of iridium. I also spent a lot of time combing through the different collections. I wanted to see what all I still had to do, but ended up just feeling a bit overwhelmed. I've never 100% completed a game, and I'm not quite sure I'm cut out for this. Regardless, for now I'm gonna keep trying. On day 233 I bought some beets. I always tend to put this off, not quite sure why, but I'm finally gonna complete the Mysterious Key quest line. I've already got everything else I need, I just gotta let these beets grow. While I was shopping, I also picked up some seeds for items I still need to ship. I bought a ridiculous amount of coffee on the way home, but now I have more espresso than I could ever reasonably need. Day 234 was a bit awkward. I got this heart event. I think it's meant to be one for Kent, where he just flat out shouts at his wife. I know it's meant to introduce the PTSD element of his character and he eventually apologizes, but it definitely left me feeling more than a little sad for Jody. Aside from that, I also took a trip to the island where I took on Key's Hungry Challenge and bought my first Galaxy Soul. Adding 3 of these to my Galaxy Hammer will turn it into the Infinity Gavel, a much more powerful weapon. On day 235, I wanted to go to the desert for the Key quest, but Pam wasn't at the bus. This is an issue I hadn't predicted, but because the island resort is open, Pam will sometimes go to the island instead of driving the bus. Had I known about this earlier, I probably could have prepared with some desert totems, but for now I'm gonna have to do something else with my day. I decided to start preparing for Pierre's prime produce, so I bought some cauliflower, crafted some sprinklers, and set up a nice little farm to produce all the gold quality vegetables necessary. I spent all of day 236 with the ancient fruit farm, and it's actually almost done. Next week we'll be able to lay the final seeds and the farm will be complete, and all the ancient fruit can start being used for wine. Day 237 was the egg festival, so unfortunately another day that we can't go to the desert. On the plus side, the wine was ready, totaling 204 wine worth over 600,000 gold. I could certainly get used to this. As usual, I also took the opportunity to absolutely destroy actual children in the egg hunt. It might be evil, but I'm also 1,000 gold richer here, so worth it. Day 238 is the day we've been waiting for. Pam is finally at the bus. I went straight into Skull Cavern and staircased directly to floor 100. There's no other way I'm making it that low without eating any food. It might be a cheap way to complete the challenge, but as long as I get the key gems, it doesn't matter. I even had time to give Haley a birthday gift after getting home, as well as finally picking up the mayor's shorts from Marnie's room. The beans were also ready today to start making pickled green beans and green bean juice. I've made another fatal mistake. I started on the mysterious key quest day 239, but Pam wasn't at the bus again, and I had entirely forgotten to get totems the last time I went. I guess I'll just have to wait. I'm not making this mistake again. Thankfully, I didn't have to wait as long this time. She was back at the bus again day 240, and I was able to complete the quest. I also tried my hand at the slots while I was there, but daily luck was really bad, so it didn't turn out real well. Also, if you thought I would have learned my lesson by now and actually traded for some totems, you are dead wrong, and it's about to come and bite me yet again. I think the real lesson here is that I never learn from my mistakes. Day 241, I did absolutely nothing. In all honesty, it had been quite some time since I had been able to record, so the day was spent going around and figuring out exactly where I was at and what I still needed to do. Thankfully, that only took about a day, so on day 242 I got right back to it, giving Pam the rabbit's foot for her birthday and selling the pickles and juice that were finally finished. Day 243 is the day we've been working towards for nearly 100 days now. The ancient fruit farm is finished. Every single spot once occupied by starfruit now has ancient fruit in its place. We even had some leftover ancient fruit to start turning into wine. And with that, we are now in the end game with our income. The only thing to do from here is a larger farm and more kegs, but ancient fruit wine is the end goal for profits, and we're finally there. We'll skip over day 244, all I did was gift Shane for his birthday. So on day 245, I went to the desert to trade for more staircases. I know I already have tons of them, but making sure I have over 100 at any given time means I can easily take on key quests in the mines or Skull Cavern and obtain key gems. Speaking of key gems, I took on the Keys Cuisine quest today. Thankfully, this one can just be completed by buying about 1700 flour and turning it all into bread. If you're at the point in the game that you can afford spending a couple 100,000 gold on flour, this is the easiest quest you can do. And that's exactly what I did on day 246, buying Pierre entirely out of flour and somehow baking 1700 loaves of bread in a single day. I'm pretty excited about this. At this rate, I'm set to be able to afford all the Galaxy of Souls I need for my Infinity Gavel. I harvested my cauliflower day 247, finishing off Pierre's quest and netting myself a few thousand gold for all my hard work of letting sprinklers do all the actual work. It's a good luck day today, which I've been waiting on to hit the casino again, and at this point I think you already know what's about to happen. Pam isn't at the bus. This has happened to me 3 times now, and at this point I definitely deserve it. I went to the island to get the last quest I need from Mr. Key for the Galaxy Souls and Skull Cavern Invasion in the desert. Now I'm worried. There's a good chance I could trip at the finish line all because I'm still relying on Pam for the desert. Without any other option, I went to bed and hoped for better luck tomorrow. Day 248 was the flower dance, which means the desert is once again unavailable. I have 2 days left now and there's a real chance Pam doesn't show up for either of them. But as long as I can't go to the desert, I should at least go to the flower dance. After careful consideration, I decided to dance with Leia. which in a way might be a symbolic gesture signifying the end of the ill will I've felt towards her ever since the 6 Heart event left me stuck in the ground. Or I took one look at all the NPCs I had enough hearts with and picked one at random. You choose whichever you like better, cause it was definitely the second one. Back to more pressing matters though, there was no Pam in sight day 249. There's probably more that could be done that day, but I have one goal in mind right now, and that's just one desert visit before the video ends. I had an early night and hoped for the best. I started day 250 by harvesting ancient fruit and making it into wine. Afterwards, I went into town and Pam is headed to the bus. It's happening. I don't know if I have enough time for everything, but I gotta try. Before we get into anything else, I should point out the first thing I did in the desert today was buy warp totems. Finally, I might have actually learned a lesson. Anyway, I started at the casino. Bringing along a lucky ring and using a spicy eel luck buff, I gambled all the way up to the 10,000 coins needed to buy the rare crow. Afterwards, I ran into Skull Cavern and staircased directly to floor 100 for the last key gems I needed. I went straight to the Walnut Room and bought the 3rd Galaxy Soul, and while I was there I checked the Perfection Tracker, which is now at 31% by the way. All that was left now was to get to the Forge. I went to the volcano, took the shortcut up to the top, and finally obtained the best weapon in the game. That was entirely too close. With nothing else left to do, I went home and went to bed. Thank you guys so much for your continued support of this series. I apologize for the wait on this one. These videos take a while to make, and unfortunately I don't always have a lot of free time to work on these, but I'll continue to put them out as frequently as I can. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and maybe even hitting subscribe, because this series is far from over.